Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brianna Marie and I talk about books on the internet. Sometimes. Sorta. It's been a few months since I posted. I want to say it's been like 3 to 4 months. I haven't read many books since I've last posted because I've been at school and my last semester and everything, but I don't want to say I've been in a reading slump because like I've had the urge to read. It's just like I just haven't had the time to. I've been prioritizing other things. But now that I'm back home for my break, I do want to start filming again and reading more again, so we'll see. It has been a bit since I filmed, so also sitting and talking to the camera is a little awkward right now, so please bear with me. I lost my voice over Christmas. I don't know how. I filmed this video before, the entire thing too. I had like an hour worth of footage because I kept rambling on and on. It just didn't work out. Yeah, so I'm refilming it. Hopefully now that I filmed it the first time, I have my thoughts together and talking to the camera will be a little bit easier, but we'll see. So in today's video, I am talking about my top 5 books of 2025. For 2025, my reading goal was 25 books. I am currently at 24 and I'm halfway through the book I'm currently reading, so I do think I'm going to meet my reading goal. If not, it's no big deal. I'm really happy with the reading year that I had. I'm trying to think. Let's pull up my story graph and see what my lowest rated book was this year. My lowest rated book was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and that was a 2.5 star. And I think I talked about this on my book talk. If it's not up, I probably took it down, but that was because there was already a lot going on and the plot was well set up, and then they decided to add like a random plot line of sexual assault. And I hate when thriller books do that, especially if it doesn't serve a purpose, and I felt that this didn't serve a purpose. And that's something I'm going to talk about in one of my next videos of like my bookish opinions absolutely nobody asked for, but like I will die on those hills, and that's a hill that I will die on. Other than that book, I had a really good reading year. I didn't read much. Like I know there's some, well actually I read a lot. If you read more than one book a year, I'm pretty sure you're reading more than the average person. Obviously like there's some creators on here and on TikTok that are reading 100 to 200 books a year, but everyone's circumstances are different. I'm a student and I also really just want to sit and engage with the books that I'm reading, so I'm really proud of the books that I read this year. The amount of books I read really isn't that important, but it is nice when you're able to like set a goal and meet it. So I'm doing my top 5 of 2025, and then I have 2 honorable mentions. When I filmed this video the first time, I had all the books with me. My boyfriend took some of my books with him to like read, and obviously I gave him books that I enjoyed. So 2 books that were on this list he has with him, so I'm just gonna put the pictures up on the screen. I'm not showing these books in any particular order. Like I'm not really sure if I can rank them 1 through 5. I think there's one book on this list that I absolutely would have to sit at number 1, so I will give her credit when we get there, but everything else is kind of just in place. I just know these were my top 5 books. I remember reading them, I enjoy them, and they have a special place in my heart after reading them for the first time. So let's get straight into it. I have my little heated blanket. I'm wearing my Pretty Girls Read books hoodie, and I have a glass of Coca-Cola that is in a wine glass because you have to romanticize your life, you know? If it's one thing readers are good at doing, it's making shit up, really. Like, does that not just look more scrumptious in the glass? Maybe it's just me. Also, one last thing before we get started. I have a new setup. It looks literally identical to my old one except flipped, and that's because it is. Like, I just moved it to the other side of my room, but it's basically the same setup. Right here is my TBR. I have like my fiction books. There's a shelf right here with my favorites, and then over here are my thrillers and my fantasy. That's kind of what I have going on. Hope you enjoy. I have my little chair in the corner, and it just makes it an easier filming setup. Okay, now let's actually get started. I'm gonna start with 2 honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is going to be Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. My friend got this book for me as like a birthday, like around my birthday, and I wasn't exactly sold on it. Every time I had gone to the bookstore and saw it, like I would pick it up, read the synopsis, put it back down. Like I was always gravitating toward it, and I saw it all over my book talk. I don't know what this is about. This is about these 2 characters that had a one-night stand, and the female main character ends up getting pregnant, and it's a romance, and they develop a relationship over the course of the book. This is a book I typically would not read or enjoy. I hate pregnancy tropes with everything in my body. Like I genuinely there's something about pregnancy tropes that it just doesn't do it for me. I read Yours Truly a few months ago. Not even, I read Yours Truly like a month and a half ago. I was enjoying it so much, then the main character randomly gets pregnant and it dropped it down like at least 2 stars for me because I was just like, why you had to do that? Like that's literally not what the fans want to see.
That's literally what the fans don't want to see.
You know what I mean? This book, I had to put this not on my top 5, but as an honorable mention because I think it got me out of my comfort zone a little bit and I really enjoyed this. I don't remember much about it, to be honest, but like, you know when you read a book and you just remember the feeling of reading the book? I remember what I was feeling when I read this book, and it was a pleasant one. I really liked the male main character. He took a lot of responsibility. The female main character, like obviously she was nervous and she was going through a lot, but she wasn't necessarily like fighting him about him wanting to take that responsibility, which I really enjoyed. Like there was some miscommunication, but the fact that there was a baby involved, I do think that both parties were like really mature about it, and that's something that I think a lot of romances lack when it comes to pregnancy tropes, because the two main characters are so focused on their personal relationship that they forget that there's another person involved. But in this, like, we were aware of that the entire time. Like the reason that they had to make this work was because of this responsibility shared between the two of them, and I just thought it was a really grown-up way that they went about it, you know, and I really enjoyed it, because some romance books tends to forget that it's supposed to like emulate the real world. I think that's why I like Kennedy Ryan so much, because her books are so much more realistic when it comes to romance. I think this was a really realistic romance, especially a really realistic pregnancy trope. So I really liked it. My next honorable mention is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I have the mime order sitting right here on my TBR, and I read this in DC in August. Now, I'm filming this on December 25th, okay, and I still haven't started the second one. And I miss Paige. I miss our main character Paige so bad, but I'm not a huge fantasy person, and I actually want to get through and finish this, so I'm not going to rush myself to read it. But this book was so good. I was sitting in public spaces reading it. I think I'm going to include a clip here of me talking about this book.
Fuck this fuck-ass book, bro. I made it to page 333. I'm reading publicly because of the pain this has caused me. And I can't put it down. And I'm literally about to cry at this damn restaurant. Because what's left for me to do? I can't do this.
Waiter was like, what are you reading? And I'm like damn near bawling eyes about what's going on in this book. She's a pretty chunky one. The magic system in this is so complex and specific. I love it. Literally, I was taking notes at work, so this is like a random guest check from work, and then I was writing down all my little notes. I got BookCon tickets, and Samantha Shannon is going to be there, so obviously I'm going to get this signed. The magic system in this is amazing. The politics amazing. You really get to like know and care about the characters, and I can't wait. I can't wait to keep going with this series, but something is stopping me and I don't know what. I think a lot of the times when I get really invested in characters, I don't want to finish the series, and I know that sounds silly, but I will give them my own endings. I kid you not. I don't want to know. Like for The Poppy War, for example, I did not read the last book. That trilogy, I read the first two. I did not pick up the third one. In my mind, Rin is happy, and that's it. Like, she got her happy ending, and that's all I care about, you know? So those are my two honorable mentions. Let's go on to my top 5 of 2025. All right, so one of my top 5 books of this year was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the most recent book in the Hunger Games series. So you have like the original trilogy, Songbirds, something Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't know. I didn't read that one. I don't care for Snow at all, to the point where like I don't want to interact with any content about him, any media about him. I don't care. Like, I don't need a character arc. You're just evil. However, this book follows Haymitch and his time in the game. During his game, there were 2 boys, 2 girls from each district. Oh my god. Twice the violence in this. When I sat and read this, I didn't annotate, but I dog-eared pages, and I don't know if you could see, like, hold on, I need this to like focus. I don't know if you could see where I dog-eared these pages, but this put me through such an emotional roller coaster. I cannot wait for the movie to come out. Just like, me and my boyfriend rewatched the first movie the other day, and it was like, after reading this, like, everything changed. Snow is just even more of a piece of shit, and he's just like absolutely terrorizing Haymitch, and I can't wait for the movie to come out. This was one of the best books ever that I read this year. I'm talking about best books ever, but like, actually the way I sat and read this book, like, I had a big beanbag chair in my room, or at least I used to. I sat down in the middle of it, literally just cozied up and flew through this. The action scenes in the arena were amazing, all the emotions that you get, and then also when you think about it, like, Katniss, her name also was not pulled for the Hunger Games. Like, she volunteered. Haymitch was also not freaking pulled. Bro. I love it. This is amazing. If you haven't read it yet, go read it. It got me out of a reading slump. I think I just sat and stared at this book for like 10 minutes. I'm gonna have to cut that out the video, but like, I think this will always hold a special place in my heart. And out of the Hunger Games series, which I have like literally right behind me, it's like right up there. I don't know if it's in the frame, but this is my favorite. The next book on my top 5 of 2025 is Speak to Me of Home by Janine Cummins, and this I was supposed to read at the Buddy Read with my friend Juliana. And usually when I read a book, it's like at first when I start it takes me forever to get started. She was ahead of me by like 9 chapters, and I was like, okay, let me get on it, like let me, you know. So then I sat down, and when I went to go catch up, I couldn't put it down. I finished it straight through. I'm a terrible Buddy Read partner, and I'm so sorry. But this is the one that I was talking about that is absolutely number 1 on this list. If I had to rank them, this would sit at number 1. I annotated it. It has sticky notes in here. This book follows 3 generations of Puerto Rican women. What I really liked about this book is you see the way that assimilation works and the way that it impacts different generations. And so you have the eldest, the grandmother, Rafaela, and she lives in Puerto Rico, marries a white man, moves to the US. She doesn't necessarily get her happy, she gets her happy ending in the end. Don't worry about that. But like that part of her life, there was more that she wanted out of it, but she needed to survive. She, you know, her family had like political power and money that they ended up losing, and so she had to make a living for herself. So there's a lot of dynamics there that we get more information about as the book goes on. But she moves her family to the US, and so her daughter, who is like the second generation that we follow, she has to assimilate, and her brother has a harder time doing that. He misses Puerto Rico. He wants to go back to Puerto Rico. She understands that she needs to make a life here, and that's going to make it easier for her mother and her father. And so like she assimilates into US culture, kind of forgets about like her Puerto Rican roots. Her brother has a harder time doing that. Then you have her children who actually live in Puerto Rico, or at least her daughter lives in Puerto Rico, and that's where the book opens, and we're following this during Hurricane Maria. Her daughter gets injured and is in the hospital, and so we're jumping back and forth in time quite a bit, and I thought that was going to be difficult for me to follow, but it was not at all. This was such a beautiful book. It was well written. All the characters are so vastly different, but they're different for the same reasons. They're all experiencing this shift in culture between Puerto Rico and then like going off the island onto the mainland, onto the US. And what that shift looks like for them is very different, and what they prioritize going through that is very different. And I think for me, the reason that this ended up being number 1 for me is that the ending was such a full circle moment that it was almost like satisfying. Like I put this book down feeling so satisfied and being like, yeah, that made perfect sense. It gave me the emotional turmoil that I needed. It gave me the beautiful writing, but it picked up the pieces, you know. It broke me, but it picked up the pieces in the end, and I think that is such a sign, like an important sign of a good book. This was amazing. This is probably a book I would reread like once a year, which I do to Asada. I didn't do it this year, but Asada is one of my favorite books of all time. I also don't have it on my shelf because my boyfriend took it, but this is also going to be like an all-time favorite. This is like a book I tell my children about when I have them, you know, like, hey y'all, one of mommy's faves, you know. So I apologize if there's like a crazy amount of cuts. I'm so sniffly, so I keep touching my face, sniffling, like I'm talking with my hands a lot. Like I said, this is the first time I'm filming in a while, so I'm still getting comfortable talking to the camera. And in my day-to-day, I talk with my hands, and when I'm passionate about stuff, I talk with my hands. Obviously, I'm passionate about books, so I'm kind of just like ready to fight you guys over these books, but it's fine. Next on this list is Not in My Book by Katie Holt. I am so surprised that a romance book made this list. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. As much romance as I read, I still consider myself not to be a big romance reader because I'm so nitpicky about romance. It did it for me. I'm sorry. This is this author's debut novel, which is insane. Insane. I can't wait to see what else she writes. This book follows 2 characters, both going to university to be a writer, to be a published author. Female main character, Rosie, she's Peruvian American. She is living in New York. Yeah. She's living in New York on her own. Like, she works, she pays her own bills, she has a roommate. Like, her family's home in Tennessee, I believe. Yeah. In Tennessee, like she's really making it on her own out here, and she's a romance writer. And then our male main character, he's like this brooding, dark hair, like your average romance male love interest, and he has money, he's very secretive, and he writes literary fiction, realistic fiction, things like that. So they have a class together. They bicker all the time because they don't really he doesn't really respect the romance genre. He rage baits the hell out of her, and she is just like quick-witted. She comes back just as hard. But there's this one class, they blow up on one another. And the teacher is like, okay, I'm dropping you both from this class. You're causing a disruption. This isn't going to work. She already paid for her classes for the semester. Again, she's very independent. She's in this weird predicament. And he's also just like, hey, I don't want to drop this class. She has more on the line as to why she doesn't want to drop the class. So they try to convince the professor not to drop them. And basically she was like, okay, well then for our final project, which is writing, a book, handing in a manuscript, whatever, you two need to find a way to combine your two genres, work together, and write the book together, like be co-authors. And so throughout this book, it's from Rosie's POV, but we're getting chapters and excerpts of their manuscript as they are writing it, and they're writing a romance. And so how they feel about each other is seeping in to their book. And so it's being like revealed to us. So not only are we reading this, but we're reading their book. It was brilliant. That's like all I had to say. And there's this one scene, oh my god. Now, it's not even smut, guys. Like, it's not even like pure smut, but it's like they're both on the Google Doc together. You know how when someone else is typing on a doc, like you can see what they're typing? Yeah. Guys, I thought I was on the document the way I was holding my breath. Like, I felt like I could see the stuff being typed out. I'm pretty sure I put I have like pieces of paper in this book where that scene is because it changed my brain chemistry. This definitely made my top 5. And anyways, okay, this next book I read pretty early on in 2025. It was the second book I read this year. And the first book, I had started 2025 off so strong. I read, The Many Lives of Mama Love, which was a 5-star book for me. Then I went straight into the second one, and that is A Man Named Uwe by Frederick Bachman. This was my first introduction to Frederick Bachman. I immediately bought like all of his books afterward. I actually have Anxious People right here on my TBR for 2026, but A Man Called Uwe is a book about this old man who loses his wife. This is not a spoiler, it's in the synopsis, and he tries to kill himself like for majority of the book because he doesn't have his wife. He doesn't see the point in living anymore. Like, that was his world. And he's this grumpy old man. He's so nasty with everybody. But he gets these new neighbors, and it's like this Spanish lady. Or what is she? She might be Spanish in the movie because I watched the movie with Tom Hanks immediately after. But he gets this crazy neighbor. It's his family, 2 kids. And the wife will not leave him alone, like, to save her life. Like, she's always knocking on the door. She always needs something. Her husband's, like, kind of ditzy. He's kind of like a himbo, you know? But, like, in a cute way. And then the kids, like, start calling him grandpa. And the found family trope in this is, like, it's so found family. It's the found family. Like, it's actually so amazing. It's so cute. And I think the way that it closes is also full circle. I think that's what I've noticed about a lot of these books that I really enjoyed, especially Speak to Me of Home, that we get that full circle moment in the end. We get a really satisfying full circle moment with A Man Named Uwe, because in the beginning, literally the first chapter, he's arguing with somebody about an iPad. And you're like, who's this old dickhead yelling at this minimum wage worker over an iPad? You know, then you get to the end, and we get back to the beginning of that scene. Bro, it's enough to make a grown man cry. I absolutely love this book. If I had to give it a number, it would be number 2 on this list. Speak to Me of Home still takes the crown, but this book was amazing. It made me cry. I love found family, and I can't wait to read the rest of what he has. He has another book similar to A Man Named Uwe called Britt Marie something, but like the concept is basically the same, where like you have a grumpy main character. I love that, where it's like the main character is grumpy and like, but in a reasonable way, because I don't like enemies to lovers. I'm very picky. It has to be done right. This was done really right. Like, he wasn't an unlikable guy. Like, you know he's a good guy. He's mean, but like deep down, you know he's a good guy. And we also are introduced to a lot of different side characters in this book that I really like. His wife was a teacher, and so you meet like some of her students and, you know, people that she's made an impact on their lives, and they come back, and, you know, Uwe's like, damn, like, now I gotta help you, like, fuck, like, you know. So it's really good. Last, certainly not least, but I think that this book had its run this year, especially on BookTok, BookTube, Booksta, all the bookish places, and that is Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby. S.A. Cosby, I think, like, completely blew up this year, and for all the right reasons. I loved Razor Blade Tears. It was the first book that I read of his. I have a review on this on my book talk from, like, immediately after I finished reading it, and I was still in that daze, you know, that like book high where like after you finish a book you could just kind of like stare at a wall and you're just like, wow. That's kind of like what happened to me after Razor Blade Tears. And so if you don't know what Razor Blade Tears is, it is a book that follows two men. It follows Ike and Buddy Lee, and Ike is a black man, Buddy Lee is a white man, and they are the fathers of these two men that were in a married couple, and they were brutally murdered. And so they tried to find, you know, answers to their son's, you know, murder and revenge on the people that were responsible for their deaths. And in this we also get like a lot of reflection about, you know, how they feel about themselves as fathers, you know, not necessarily being as accepting as they could have been of their sons, and now that their sons are gone they live with a lot of regret for that. And then we also have those racial differences there. They each have their own issues and pasts that come into play. There is so much happening in this book, but it's also very easy to keep up with, which I really like. If you're a newer reader, it's something that I think would really get you into reading. And for me, for someone that reads a lot, it still like kept me interested. The only thing is that it's a little bit lower on this list than the other ones just because I predicted the ending. That's like nobody's fault. I typically predict endings. It's nothing new. I was just kind of like hoping I wasn't right, because I was like, damn, it'd be cooler if it like was maybe something even crazier, because then I wouldn't know it. But like the book was still really good. It read like an HBO Max show. I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of the action scenes that we were getting. I don't have like a crazy imagination, to be completely honest with you. Like I don't like, you know, like that spectrum where it's like an apple, or like you see apple, you don't see an apple. I'm so far on that spectrum, I see nothing. But with this book, I was like, it was so descriptive enough that I was like kind of feeling it. Maybe I was seeing a little bit of an apple. I don't know. But it was just like the action scenes were amazing. I was really interested in the character development of Ike specifically. I'm sure Buddy Lee's character development was good. I just didn't pay much attention to it because I was so concerned about what Ike had going on. But overall, like I think the book was really good. It was really well written, and typically I don't trust book talk recommendations, but this was a good one. Like this one, y'all got that one. So that is going to wrap up my top 5 of 2025. I don't have all the books with me, but again, this was such a strong reading year for me. I'm so looking forward to 2026, and I hope that I have an even stronger reading year, if that's even possible. Like 2025 was so good. I found like new favorites. This is like Speak to Me of Home is a new like generational favorite. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to be uploading some more soon. So bye.